The angular silhouette that emerged from the morning mist at Dessau Airfield on that crisp autumn day in 1934 represented far more than just another experimental aircraft. The Junkers Ju-86, with its distinctive twin-engine configuration and all-metal construction, would become one of aviation history's most versatile and enduring designs, serving simultaneously as a commercial airliner, medium bomber, and ultimately as a high-altitude reconnaissance platform that would operate at the very edge of the atmosphere. This remarkable machine, stretching 17.86 meters from nose to tail with a wingspan of 22.50 meters, embodied the technological ambitions of German aviation in the 1930s. Powered by twin Junkers Jumo 205 diesel engines, each producing 600 horsepower through their unique opposed piston design, the Ju-86 could achieve a maximum speed of 360 km per hour while carrying either 10 passengers in comfort or up to 1,000 kilograms of bombs to targets 1,500 kilometers away. Its service ceiling of 7,000 meters would later be extended to an extraordinary 12,000 meters in specialized high-altitude variants, making it one of the highest-flying operational aircraft of World War II. The aircraft's dual nature was evident from its inception, designed to meet both the commercial requirements of Deutsche Lufthansa and the clandestine military needs of a nation preparing for war. With a maximum takeoff weight of 8,200 kilograms for civilian versions and 10,400 kilograms for military variants, the Ju-86 represented a significant leap forward in payload capacity and operational flexibility. Its all-metal construction, featuring Junkers' characteristic corrugated aluminum skin, provided exceptional strength and durability while keeping structural weight to a minimum. The cockpit, positioned high in the nose section, offered excellent visibility for both pilots through large glazed panels that became a signature feature of the design. Defensive armament in military versions included up to 4 machine gun positions: dorsal, ventral, nose, and tail positions, each mounting either 7.92 MG-15 or MG-81 machine guns. The internal bomb bay, seamlessly integrated into the fuselage design, could accommodate various ordnance loads depending on mission requirements, from conventional high-explosive bombs to specialized reconnaissance equipment in later variants. Production of the Ju-86 would eventually reach 1,019 aircraft across all variants, manufactured not only at Junkers facilities but also under license by other companies including Saab in Sweden. The type would serve with air forces around the world, from the Luftwaffe and Lufthansa to the Swedish Air Force, South African Air Force, and numerous other operators who recognized its exceptional versatility and reliability. The Ju-86's operational history would span from the Spanish Civil War through the end of World War II and beyond, with some aircraft remaining in service well into the 1950s. Its evolution from a conventional medium bomber to a pressurized high-altitude reconnaissance platform represented one of the most dramatic transformations in aviation history, demonstrating the adaptability of sound basic design principles to radically different operational requirements. This, then, is the story of the Junkers Ju-86, a tale of engineering innovation, political necessity, and operational adaptation that would see this distinctive twin-engine aircraft serve in roles ranging from luxury passenger transport to stratospheric spyplane, leaving an indelible mark on aviation history through its remarkable versatility and longevity. The morning mist clung to the airfield at Dessau as this ungainly twin-engine aircraft taxied toward the runway, its distinctive angular silhouette cutting through the haze like a mechanical predator preparing for flight. This was no ordinary machine taking to the skies on that historic day in November 1934.
This was the beginning of an aviation legend that would bridge the gap between civilian aviation and military might, embodying the technological ambitions and political machinations of a nation preparing for war. In the pantheon of aviation history, few aircraft have lived such dual lives as the Junkers Ju-86. Born from the drawing boards of one of Germany's most innovative aircraft manufacturers, this twin-engine marvel would serve simultaneously as a commercial airliner ferrying passengers across Europe and as a bomber capable of raining destruction from the heavens. Its story is one of engineering brilliance constrained by political necessity, of technological innovation shadowed by military deception, and of an aircraft that would ultimately find its greatest success in roles far removed from its original design intent. The genesis of the Ju-86 can be traced back to the early 1930s, when the German aviation industry found itself caught between the restrictions of the Versailles Treaty and the growing ambitions of a resurgent nation. Hugo Junkers, the brilliant engineer whose company had already established itself as a pioneer in all-metal aircraft construction, understood that the future of aviation lay not in the fabric-covered biplanes of the past, but in sleek, modern monoplanes capable of carrying substantial loads over long distances at unprecedented speeds. The specifications that landed on the Junkers design team's desks in 1933 reflected this vision of the future. The aircraft would need to serve dual purposes, functioning as a commercial airliner capable of competing with the best foreign designs while simultaneously meeting the clandestine requirements of a military establishment that was already planning for conflicts that would reshape the world.
This dual-role requirement would prove to be both the aircraft's greatest strength and its most significant limitation, creating design compromises that would influence every aspect of its development and service career. Ernst Zindel, the chief designer assigned to the project, approached the challenge with characteristic German thoroughness and innovation. The aircraft would be built around Junkers' proven all-metal construction techniques, utilizing corrugated aluminum alloy skin that provided exceptional strength while keeping weight to a minimum. The twin-engine configuration offered the reliability and performance necessary for both commercial and military operations, while the low-wing monoplane design promised speed and efficiency that would make it competitive in the rapidly evolving aviation marketplace. The power plant selection process revealed the first of many challenges that would plague the Ju-86 throughout its career. Initial plans called for advanced diesel engines that would provide exceptional fuel economy and range, crucial factors for both commercial airlines seeking to reduce operating costs and military planners envisioning long-range bombing missions. The Junkers UMO 205 diesel engine, with its unique opposed piston design, promised to deliver performance that would revolutionize aviation propulsion. However, the complexity of these engines and their extended development timeline would create delays and reliability issues that would haunt the aircraft for years to come. As the first prototype took shape in the Junkers factory, the political landscape of Germany was undergoing dramatic changes that would profoundly impact the aircraft's development and deployment. The rise of the National Socialist Party brought new priorities and new resources to German aviation, but it also imposed new constraints and requirements that sometimes conflicted with sound engineering principles. The Ju-86 found itself caught in the crosscurrents of these changes, its development influenced as much by political necessity as by technical considerations. The maiden flight of the Ju-86 V1 prototype on November 4, 1934 marked a significant milestone in German aviation history. Test pilot Gerhard Fieseler, already famous for his aerobatic prowess and his successful aircraft company, guided the angular machine into the air with the skill and precision that had made him one of Germany's most respected aviators. The flight revealed both the promise and the problems that would characterize the Ju-86's entire career. From the cockpit, Fieseler could immediately sense that this was no ordinary aircraft. The Ju-86 possessed a solid, stable feel in the air that spoke to the soundness of its basic design. The controls responded predictably and smoothly, while the twin Jumo 205 engines provided adequate power for the aircraft's substantial weight. The view from the cockpit was excellent, with large windows providing the visibility essential for both commercial and military operations. Yet even on this first flight, certain limitations became apparent that would require extensive development work to overcome. The diesel engines, while impressive in their fuel economy, proved to be temperamental power plants that required careful handling and constant attention. Their unique design made them prone to starting difficulties in cold weather, while their complex fuel injection systems were sensitive to contamination and required specialized maintenance procedures. More troubling was their tendency to produce excessive vibration, which not only reduced crew comfort but also imposed additional stress on the aircraft's structure and systems. Despite these early challenges, the test program proceeded with characteristic German efficiency and thoroughness. Each flight revealed new aspects of the aircraft's performance envelope, while ground testing subjected every component to rigorous analysis. The aerodynamic qualities proved to be generally excellent, with the clean lines and efficient wing design delivering the speed and range performance that the specifications demanded. The structural integrity was outstanding, a testament to Juncker's years of experience with all-metal construction techniques. As testing continued throughout 1935, the dual nature of the U-86's mission became increasingly apparent in its design evolution. The civilian version, designated U-86A, featured comfortable passenger accommodations for up to 10 travelers, with large windows and luxurious appointments that rivaled the best airliners of the era. The military bomber version, initially designated U-86B, incorporated internal bomb bays, defensive armament positions, and specialized equipment for navigation and target acquisition. The deception necessary to maintain the aircraft's civilian cover story required elaborate measures that sometimes bordered on the absurd. Military variants were initially designated as freight carriers or mail planes to avoid detection by foreign intelligence services, while bomber crews trained using dummy bombs and practiced their techniques under the guise of cargo handling exercises. This elaborate charade reflected the broader pattern of German rearmament during this period, where military preparations were hidden behind civilian facades and technical innovations. The introduction of the U-86 into Lufthansa service in 1936 marked the beginning of its operational career and provided valuable real-world testing of its systems and capabilities. Routes to destinations across Europe and beyond put the aircraft through its paces in a variety of weather conditions and operational environments, revealing both strengths and weaknesses that could not be discovered through factory testing alone. Passengers who flew aboard these early Ju-86 airliners experienced a level of comfort and speed that was revolutionary for its time. Captain Wilhelm Sturt, one of Lufthansa's most experienced pilots, described the aircraft as a gentleman's machine that rewarded careful flying with exceptional performance and reliability. The spacious cabin, with its large windows and modern appointments, provided a flying experience that compared favorably with the best international competition, while the aircraft's speed and range opened up new route possibilities that had previously been economically unfeasible. Yet beneath the civilian veneer, the aircraft's military potential was being carefully developed and refined. Bomber variants underwent extensive testing at secret facilities where crews learned to exploit the aircraft's capabilities while working around its limitations. The internal bomb bay could carry a respectable load of ordnance, while defensive armament positions protected protection against intercepting fighters. Most importantly, the aircraft's range and payload combination made it suitable for the strategic bombing missions that German military planners were beginning to envision. The Spanish Civil War, which erupted in 1936, provided an unexpected testing ground for German military equipment and tactics. While the Ju-86 did not serve in large numbers during this conflict, the few examples that did see action provided valuable combat experience that would influence future development. The harsh operating conditions and combat stresses revealed both the aircraft's robustness and its vulnerabilities, leading to modifications that would improve its effectiveness in the larger conflict that was rapidly approaching. Spanish pilots who flew the Ju-86 in combat reported that the aircraft possessed excellent stability and accuracy as a bombing platform, qualities that made it effective against both strategic and tactical targets. The defensive armament, while not overwhelming, proved adequate against the limited fighter opposition encountered during the early phases of the conflict. Most importantly, the aircraft's ability to operate from improvised airfields and its relatively simple maintenance requirements made it well suited to the fluid, fast-moving nature of the Spanish War. However, the Spanish experience also revealed significant weaknesses that would become more problematic as enemy capabilities improved. The aircraft's relatively modest speed made it vulnerable to modern fighters, while its defensive armament was insufficient to deal with determined attacks. The diesel engines, while economical, proved maintenance-intensive under combat conditions, requiring specialized spare parts and technical expertise that were often unavailable in forward operating areas. These lessons learned in Spain influenced the ongoing development of improved U-86 variants, leading to modifications intended to address the aircraft's most significant limitations. Engine improvements focused on increasing reliability and reducing maintenance requirements, while defensive armament was strengthened and repositioned for better effectiveness. Structural modifications improved the aircraft's ability to withstand combat damage, while avionics upgrades enhanced its navigation and bombing accuracy. The outbreak of World War II in September 1939 thrust the Ju-86 into a role for which it was increasingly ill-suited. While the aircraft had been adequate for the limited conflicts of the mid-1930s, the full-scale war that now engulfed Europe demanded capabilities that the aging design could not provide. Faster, more modern aircraft were rapidly relegating the Ju-86 to secondary roles, yet its solid construction and proven reliability ensured that it would continue to serve throughout the conflict.
The Polish campaign of September 1939 saw U-86 bombers participating in the Luftwaffe's first major offensive operations of the war. Flying in formations that darkened the skies over Polish cities and military installations, these angular machines delivered their deadly cargoes with the methodical precision that would become the hallmark of German bombing tactics. The campaign demonstrated both the aircraft's effectiveness against limited opposition and its vulnerability when facing modern defensive systems. Major Heinrich Kessler, commanding a squadron of U-86 bombers during the Polish campaign, later described the surreal experience of participating in the war's opening phases. "We flew in perfect formation through skies that seemed almost peaceful, our engines droning steadily as we approached our targets. The Polish fighters that rose to intercept us seemed almost antiquated compared to our modern machines, yet we knew that this easy dominance would not last. Even then, we could sense that the war we were beginning would demand capabilities that our faithful Ju-86s could not provide." The rapid victory in Poland masked the growing obsolescence of the U-86 as a frontline bomber. While the aircraft had performed adequately against limited opposition, encounters with modern fighters revealed its vulnerability to high-speed interceptors. The defensive armament that had seemed adequate during the Spanish Civil War proved insufficient against determined attacks, while the aircraft's modest speed made it an increasingly attractive target for enemy fighters. The Battle of France in 1940 saw the U-86 participating in what would be its last major campaign as a frontline bomber. The swift German advance through the Low Countries and into France provided ideal conditions for close support operations, where the aircraft's accuracy and reliability proved valuable assets. However, encounters with British and French fighters highlighted the urgent need for faster, more heavily armed bombers capable of surviving in increasingly hostile airspace. Captain Franz Weber, piloting a Ju-86 during the attack on French airfields in May 1940, experienced firsthand the changing nature of aerial warfare. "We approached the target at our usual altitude, confident in our formation's defensive firepower and the surprise of our attack. But the French fighters that rose to meet us were faster and more aggressive than anything we had encountered before. Our gunners fought desperately to keep them at bay, but we lost 2 aircraft from our formation before we could complete our bomb run. It was clear that the age of the unescorted daylight bomber was ending." The failure of the Ju-86 to achieve air superiority over Britain during the Battle of Britain effectively ended its career as a strategic bomber. The aircraft's limited range, modest bomb load, and inadequate defensive armament made it unsuitable for the long-range missions required to attack British targets, while its vulnerability to fighter interception made daylight operations prohibitively costly. By late 1940, most Ju-86 bomber units had been withdrawn from frontline service or re-equipped with more modern aircraft. Yet, rather than marking the end of the Ju-86's military career, this withdrawal from bomber operations opened the door to new roles that would extend its service life well beyond the war's end. The aircraft's excellent high-altitude performance, structural integrity, and long range made it ideal for reconnaissance missions, while its spacious internal volume could accommodate specialized equipment for electronic warfare and surveillance operations. The transformation of the Ju-86 from bomber to reconnaissance aircraft began in earnest in 1941, as German intelligence services recognized the value of high-altitude surveillance in the increasingly complex European war. The aircraft's ability to operate at altitudes approaching 40,000 feet, well above the ceiling of most contemporary fighters, made it virtually immune to interception while providing an excellent platform for photographic reconnaissance. The technical modifications required for high-altitude operations were extensive and sophisticated, reflecting the advanced state of German aviation technology. Pressurized crew compartments allowed operations at unprecedented altitudes, while supercharged engines provided the power necessary to reach and maintain these extreme heights. Specialized photographic equipment, including cameras with focal lengths measured in meters, could capture detailed images of targets hundreds of miles behind enemy lines. Lieutenant Karl Zimmermann, one of the first pilots to fly high-altitude reconnaissance missions in the modified U-86, described the unique challenges and rewards of these operations. Flying at such extreme altitudes was like entering another world entirely. The Earth far below seemed abstract and unreal, while the thin air and bitter cold created conditions unlike anything we had experienced in normal flight. Yet the intelligence we could gather from these heights was invaluable. Entire enemy formations, supply movements, and defensive preparations laid out below us like a detailed map. The high-altitude reconnaissance variant, designated Ju-86P, incorporated numerous modifications that transformed it into a specialized surveillance platform. The pressurized cabin allowed crew comfort and effectiveness at extreme altitudes, while extended wingtips improved high-altitude performance. The aircraft's cameras, some of the most advanced reconnaissance equipment of the war, could capture images with remarkable clarity and detail despite the enormous distances involved. These modified aircraft achieved remarkable success in their reconnaissance role, providing German intelligence with detailed information about Allied activities across Europe and the Mediterranean. Their ability to operate with virtual impunity at extreme altitudes made them among the most valuable intelligence-gathering assets available to German forces, while their long range allowed missions that conventional reconnaissance aircraft could not undertake. The psychological impact of these high-altitude overflights extended far beyond their intelligence value. Allied forces, unable to intercept these mysterious aircraft that appeared as mere specks in the stratosphere, found themselves under constant surveillance from an enemy they could see but not reach. The knowledge that German cameras were recording their every move from altitudes beyond the reach of their defenses created a sense of vulnerability that affected morale and operational security. RAF Fighter Command, tasked with defending British airspace against these high-altitude intruders, faced a challenge that pushed contemporary technology to its limits. The modified Spitfires and other fighters pressed into service for high-altitude interception struggled to reach the altitudes at which the Ju-86P operated, while the thin air and extreme cold at those heights created operational difficulties that often proved insurmountable. Wing Commander Douglas Bader, the legendary RAF ace, described the frustration of attempting to intercept these high-altitude reconnaissance flights. "We could see them up there, tiny silver specks against the blue, but reaching them was another matter entirely. By the time we climbed to their altitude, they had completed their mission and departed, leaving us gasping in the thin air with nothing to show for our efforts but empty fuel tanks and frostbitten fingers." The success of the Ju-86P in its reconnaissance role led to additional modifications and specialized variants designed for specific intelligence gathering missions. Electronic warfare versions carried equipment for monitoring Allied radio communications and radar systems, while meteorological variants provided weather data essential for planning military operations.
These specialized aircraft represented some of the most advanced surveillance technology of their era, incorporating innovations that would influence intelligence gathering techniques for decades to come. The Eastern Front, with its vast distances and harsh operating conditions, provided ideal conditions for Ju-86 reconnaissance operations. The aircraft's exceptional range and high-altitude capability allowed German intelligence services to monitor Soviet activities across the entire breadth of the conflict, from the Baltic states to the Caucasus Mountains. The information gathered by these missions proved crucial for German tactical and strategic planning throughout the campaign. Colonel Wolfgang Schmidt, commanding a reconnaissance unit equipped with Ju-86P aircraft on the Eastern Front, later described the unique challenges of operating in this theater. The distances involved were staggering, missions that would take us deep into Soviet territory, far beyond the range of any rescue if something went wrong. The weather was brutal, with temperatures that could freeze fuel lines and ice over cameras, yet the intelligence we gathered was absolutely vital for our ground forces. The harsh conditions of the Eastern Front tested every aspect of the Ju-86's design and construction. Extreme cold affected engine performance and placed enormous stress on aircraft systems, while the vast distances involved pushed fuel consumption calculations to their limits. Ground crews worked in conditions that would have been considered impossible in peacetime, maintaining complex aircraft systems in temperatures that could reach 50 degrees below zero. Despite these challenges, the Ju-86P continued to perform its reconnaissance missions with remarkable consistency and effectiveness. The aircraft's robust construction, inherited from its civilian airliner origins, proved invaluable in these harsh conditions, while its diesel engines, despite their complexity, showed better cold weather performance than many gasoline-powered alternatives. The intelligence gathered by these high-altitude missions provided German commanders with detailed information about Soviet troop movements, defensive preparations, and industrial activities. Photographic evidence of new tank production facilities, aircraft factories, and transportation networks allowed German planners to adjust their strategies and target priority objectives with precision that would have been impossible without this aerial surveillance. As the war progressed and Allied defensive capabilities improved, even the high-flying Ju-86P found itself increasingly vulnerable to interception. The development of improved high-altitude fighters and surface-to-air missiles gradually eroded the immunity that had made these reconnaissance missions so valuable. By 1944, losses were mounting, and the remaining Ju-86 aircraft were relegated to less dangerous missions over friendly territory. The final chapter of the Ju-86's wartime service saw the surviving aircraft pressed into a variety of secondary roles that reflected both their versatility and the desperate resource situation facing Germany in the war's closing stages. Transport duties, training missions, and even experimental roles kept some examples flying until the very end of the conflict, testament to the soundness of the basic design and the skill of the crews who operated them. Captain Heinrich Müller, flying one of the last operational Ju-86 aircraft in April 1945, described the surreal experience of operating these veteran machines as the Reich collapsed around them. "We flew whatever missions were assigned, carrying whatever cargo needed transport, with fuel that was often of questionable quality and spare parts that had been improvised from scrap metal. Yet, the old bird kept flying, her diesel engines coughing and her controls responding just as they had on her first flight more than a decade earlier." The end of the war in Europe marked the beginning of a new chapter in the Ju-86's story, as surviving aircraft found themselves serving with air forces around the world. Sweden, Switzerland, and other neutral nations had operated civilian versions throughout the conflict, while post-war surplus military examples found their way to operators in South America, Asia, and Africa who valued their reliability and payload capacity. The South African Air Force became one of the most significant post-war operators of the Ju-86, using both civilian and military variants for transport and training duties. The aircraft's robust construction and proven reliability made it ideal for operations in harsh climates and remote locations, while its spacious cabin could accommodate a variety of cargo and passenger loads. Major John van der Merwe, commanding a South African Air Force squadron equipped with Ju-86 aircraft in the late 1940s, praised the type's versatility and dependability. These German machines might have been our enemies during the war, but they proved to be excellent servants in peace. Their diesel engines were economical to operate, their structures were virtually indestructible, and their performance was more than adequate for our requirements. We flew them on everything from cargo runs to the interior to VIP transport missions, and they never let us down. The civilian aviation market also provided opportunities for continued Ju-86 service, as airlines around the world recognized the value of an aircraft that combined proven reliability with economical operation. Routes across Africa, South America, and Asia saw Ju-86 airliners carrying passengers and cargo well into the 1950s, their distinctive silhouettes becoming familiar sights at airports from Cape Town to Buenos Aires. The technological legacy of the Ju-86 extended far beyond its direct service history, influencing aircraft design principles that would shape aviation development for decades to come. The high-altitude reconnaissance variants pioneered pressurization techniques and life support systems that would become standard features of post-war military aircraft, while the aircraft's modular construction methods influenced manufacturing processes throughout the industry. Perhaps most significantly, the Ju-86's transformation from civilian airliner to military bomber to high-altitude reconnaissance platform demonstrated the importance of adaptability in aircraft design. The ability to modify and upgrade the basic airframe for radically different missions became a key consideration in post-war aircraft development, leading to multi-role designs that could evolve with changing operational requirements. The final Ju-86 flights took place in the mid-1950s, as age, obsolescence, and the availability of more modern aircraft finally ended the type's operational career. Yet, even in retirement, surviving examples continue to serve aviation history as museum pieces and static displays, their distinctive appearance and remarkable service record ensuring their place in the pantheon of significant aircraft designs. Today, fewer than a dozen Ju-86 aircraft survive in various states of preservation around the world, silent witnesses to an era when aviation was rapidly evolving and the line between civilian and military applications was often deliberately blurred. These surviving examples, carefully maintained by dedicated museums and preservation societies, serve as tangible reminders of the ingenuity and adaptability that characterized aviation development during one of history's most turbulent periods. The story of the Junkers Ju-86 stands as a testament to the power of sound engineering principles and adaptable design philosophy. From its origins as a dual-purpose airliner and bomber to its ultimate role as a high-altitude reconnaissance platform operating at the very edge of space, this remarkable aircraft demonstrated that versatility and reliability could overcome limitations in speed and firepower. Its legacy lives on not only in the museums where surviving examples are preserved, but in the design principles and operational concepts that continue to influence aviation development to this day. In the end, the Ju-86's greatest achievement may not have been its success in any single role, but its ability to adapt and evolve with changing requirements throughout a career that spanned more than 2 decades. This flexibility, combined with the robust construction and reliable performance that characterized all Junkers designs, ensured that the angular twin-engine aircraft would leave an indelible mark on aviation history, remembered not just for what it was, but for what it became through the vision and skill of those who flew and maintained it.